What if the world's strongest money is always living on borrowed time? Picture a Roman merchant in a crowded forum weighing silver denarii. Centuries later, a Phoenician trader counts gold ducats in a candlelit counting house. Fast forward to London's bustling docks, where British pounds change hands for tea and silk. And today, a Wall Street trader stares at a glowing screen, watching the dollar's value flicker. Every age has its safe currency, its global passport, its symbol of trust. But history whispers a warning. No reserve currency lasts forever. From the Roman denarius to the Dutch guilder, from the British pound to the US dollar, every world currency has followed a hidden pattern, a seven-stage cycle of rise, dominance, and inevitable decline. So, how does a simple coin become the world's passport? Why do nations put their trust in one currency above all others? And what happens when that trust begins to crack? We were about to dive into the 7 stages that decide the fate of every empire AS currency. The big question is, where are we in the cycle right now? Let's step into a medieval marketplace. Merchants are haggling over spices, silks, and silver. But not all coins are equal. Some are clipped, some are counterfeit, but others, like the Roman denarius or the Venetian ducat, are trusted everywhere. This is how a reserve currency is born. It starts with a nation building trust. Its coins are pure, its government is stable, and its military is strong. Traders from distant lands begin to accept its money, knowing they can spend it anywhere. For centuries, the Roman denarius was the backbone of Mediterranean trade. Later, Venice's gold ducat glittered in the hands of merchants from Cairo to London. Then, the Dutch guilder rode the waves of the world's first global trading empire, its value backed by Amsterdam's mighty banks. And then came the British pound. As the sun never set on the British Empire, the pound sterling became the world's financial anchor. Gold flowed into London's vaults. Insurance, shipping, and credit, it all ran through the city of London. But, just like every empire before it, the pound's dominance couldn't last. The cycle was already turning. Finally, the US dollar rises from the ashes of World War II. America's factories are humming, its gold reserves are towering over everyone else's, and its currency becomes the new global standard. The full faith and credit of the United States is enough to convince the entire world to trade, save, and invest in dollars. But every rise plants the seeds of the next stage. As trust in a currency grows, so does the ambition of the nation behind it. Countries start to borrow more, spend more, and begin to believe their currency's reign will last forever. Now, let's step into the golden age of a great currency. Picture London in the late 1800s. Steamships are lining the Thames, gold bars are stacked high in the Bank of England, and the pound sterling is the world's ticket to trade. British merchants are buying tea in China, cotton in India, and oil in Persia, and it's all paid for with pounds, a currency trusted from Cairo to Cape Town. Or, let's fast forward to post-war America. The dollar is king. Wall Street is booming, highways are stretching across the continent, and the world's central banks are filling their vaults with greenbacks. This is the era of what's called the exorbitant privilege of the reserve currency. It means America can borrow cheaply, spend freely, and run massive deficits without immediate fear of collapse. This is the peak, the moment when a currency seems absolutely unshakable. Trade is surging, credit is expanding everywhere, speculation is running wild. The world simply can't imagine life without this money. But with dominance comes temptation. Governments borrow more and more, confident that the demand for their currency will never fade. Banks invent creative new ways to lend, invest, and speculate. This is where financialization takes hold. Money starts chasing money, and the real economy, the one that makes actual things, begins to fade into the background. Think about the British Empire's sterling area. It tied dozens of countries to London's financial fortunes, for better or worse. Later, the US dollar became the backbone of the petrodollar system, as oil was priced and traded exclusively in dollars worldwide. This locked in global demand for the dollar, but every peak hides a shadow. Debt piles up, inequality grows wider. And then the first cracks begin to show in the foundation. We see currency crises, inflation scares, and whispers that this golden age can't possibly last forever. So, what happens when the world can't imagine life without your money? How does this incredible privilege slowly turn into peril? Every peak, it seems, hides the same shadows. Mountains of debt, imperial overreach, and the first undeniable cracks in the system. Ever wonder how an empire falls? It doesn't always start with armies at the gate. Sometimes it starts with a coin. Imagine you're a Roman merchant. For generations, the silver denarius was the most trusted currency in the world. But slowly, almost secretly, the silver content starts to drop. It's replaced with cheaper metals. You start to notice. So do other merchants. Suddenly, it takes more coins to buy the same goods. Prices soar. Trade grinds to a halt. The very money that built the empire becomes a symbol of its decay. Trust erodes, and the cracks begin to show. Fast forward a few centuries. The sun never sets on the British Empire, and the pound sterling rules the waves of global finance. But then comes the Great War. The empire pours its wealth, its gold reserves into the war effort. The Great Depression hits, followed by another world war. Each blow shatters Britain's financial might. By 1944, at a conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, the world gathers to design a new financial order. The British pound, weakened and exhausted, is officially dethroned. A new king is crowned, the US dollar. And for decades, the dollar has reigned supreme. But history has a habit of rhyming. Today, the dollar faces its own set of challenges. We're talking about mountains of national debt, deficits that stretch as far as the eye can see. Powerful new currencies and disruptive digital assets are snapping at its heels. We all feel the pinch of inflation, and it makes investors nervous. Around the world, both allies and adversaries are starting to whisper the same question. Can the dollar's dominance last forever? This is what the beginning of a decline looks like. It's that slow, creeping erosion of trust the moment the world starts looking for a new anchor in the storm. When a currency's credibility starts to crumble, the fallout can be dramatic. Picture the frantic energy of a trading floor during a crisis. Phones ringing off the hook, traders shouting, numbers flashing red. This is the moment panic sets in. Investors, desperate for a safe place to put their money, trigger what's called a flight to safety. They dump the weakening currency and rush towards assets they believe will hold their value. Historically, that's been gold. You'll see gold prices spike as everyone scrambles for a piece of the ultimate safe haven. But it's not just individual investors. Entire nations start to rethink their strategy. Central banks, which hold vast sums of foreign currencies in their reserves, begin to diversify. They might start selling off their dollar holdings and buying up other currencies, like the euro or the Chinese yuan. This is where new contenders see their opening. They position themselves as stable, reliable alternatives. We're also in a new era, with digital currencies and cryptocurrencies entering the ring, promising a decentralized future, free from the control of any single government. The race for the next global reserve currency is on. So, how does a currency actually lose its crown? It's a journey from unquestioned trust to widespread doubt. From ancient Rome to modern Wall Street, we see the same pattern repeat. Roman coins, Venetian ducats, Dutch guilders, British pounds. Each had its moment in the sun, a period where it powered global trade, only to fade as the empire behind it weakened. Today, trillions of digital dollars flash across screens, connecting a global economy built on a complex web of code, contracts, and most importantly, confidence. Is this cycle of rise and fall inevitable? Or can a reserve currency, through smart policy and renewed trust, cheat death? Because every decline isn't just an ending. It's the beginning of a new chapter in the story of money. From the Roman denarius to the British pound, every global currency has told a story of rise and fall. But beneath the surface, the same 7 stages repeat. It's a cycle as old as empires themselves, a pattern hidden in plain sight. Are we watching it unfold again with the US dollar? Let's break it down. Stage 1, birth. A new currency emerges, built on trust and scarcity. Think of gold coins, their value undeniable. Stage 2, adoption. As confidence grows, traders, merchants, and entire nations begin to use it. It becomes the language of international commerce. Stage 3, dominance. This is the peak. The currency becomes the world's default, the undisputed reserve. It's what other countries hold to back their own money. It seems invincible. Then the cracks begin to show. Stage 4, overreach. The dominant nation, feeling secure, starts to overspend. Debt piles up, promises are printed on paper, and speculation runs wild. The currency is stretched thin, its foundations weakened by its own success. This leads to stage 5, decline. People start to notice. Trust, the bedrock of any currency, begins to erode. Other nations start quietly looking for alternatives, questioning if the king still deserves his crown, and that's when things accelerate. Stage 6, crisis. A trigger event, a war, a financial crash, a pandemic, exposes the deep-seated weakness. Panic sets in. People rush to sell the currency, and its rivals suddenly look much more attractive. This brings us to the final act. Stage 7, replacement. A new currency, which has been waiting in the wings, takes the throne. The old king is dead, and a new one is crowned. The cycle begins anew. So, where does that leave us today? Is the US dollar just another chapter in this very old story? When you look at the mounting debt, the political divisions, and the rise of new economic powers, it's hard not to wonder. Are we living through the overreach or decline stage right now? What did past empires miss that we might be missing today? The details change, of course. The myth evolves from gold to paper, from paper to digital code. But the human behaviors driving the cycle, greed, fear, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of power, remain the same. Every great empire believed its money, its system would last forever, and every single one has been proven wrong. So, what does this 7-stage cycle really mean for you? It's not just an academic exercise, it's both a warning and a guide. For investors, for savers, for everyday citizens, the lesson from history is crystal clear. Don't take stability for granted. The ground beneath our financial world is always shifting, even if we can't feel it day to day. So, what can you do? First, stay curious. Watch for the warning signs that history has shown us time and again: soaring national debt, persistent inflation that eats away at your savings, deep political turmoil, and the slow, quiet erosion of trust in institutions. Second, diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, whether it's one currency, one stock market, or one country. History shows that those who adapt are the ones who survive and even thrive through these massive shifts. Those who cling to the old order, convinced that this time is different, are often the ones left behind. The next reserve currency may already be out there, quietly gaining strength while the world is distracted. The question is, will you be ready when it finally steps into the spotlight? Will you recognize the signs before the headlines scream crisis? The answers are hidden in the past, if you just know where to look. If you want to understand the forces shaping our future, subscribe for more cinematic economic history. We'll help you learn how to navigate the next turn of the cycle. And join us next time as we uncover the story of the forgotten currency that almost ruled the world. Thanks for watching.